Welcome into the Inside Carolina podcast. We are breaking down all the players on UNC's roster, UNC player position previews. I'm your host, Ross Martin, joined by Sherrell McMillan and Greg Barnes. They were talking about Brady Manek. Let's pull up the numbers. So UNC has him listed at 6'9", 230. He transfers from Oklahoma, and his stats, I've been typing stats so much this year, but his last season, 10.8 points. He started 20 of the 25 games, 25.1 minutes. 5.0 rebounds, 0.8 assists, and again, 10.8 points. Shooting numbers, 42.2% from the field and 37.5% from three. But he's had better shooting numbers and higher numbers throughout his Oklahoma career. Really one of the best shooters at Oklahoma. In Oklahoma basketball history. Sherrell, you covered his recruitment to UNC as a transfer. He's a fifth-year player, brings that shooting. Where do you see him kind of playing at UNC? Is it just a stretch ball four, and what can he bring to this roster?
I think he's a perfect complement to Armando Bacot inside. I mean, there were several times, I think last year, and obviously it is a new system and a different system. There were several times last year when there just was not room to operate for Bacot or Kessler or Brooks or Sharp. And it wasn't because of the guards. It was because there was another big on the other side of the lane. That was the system that they were playing. I think now that Bacot has that space, and they showed it at the late night scrimmage, you could see the spacing. Brady Manek is that corner three guy who can, pop out and hit that. That'll be tremendous. I mean, he'll get those a lot because teams are going to sag off Bacot. Either you sag off Bacot and let him eat your big guy alive, or you double him and that leaves someone like Manek wide open. So I think he can contribute that. I wonder about his rebounding. I'm not sure how great of a rebounder he is. He has decent numbers, but I want to see how that works at North Carolina's pace because they still plan to play fast. So I think he brings that. And again, we talked about it with McCoy, just a veteran, somebody who's been there and done that and been through everything. He's not a in-your-face leader, but I think just how he works and how he prepares is leadership in itself. So he brings all those things, and just the level of a shooter he is. He's not that far from Kerwin Walton, and that's just tremendous for North Carolina before.
Yeah, it was interesting watching him at late night. I mean, he loves to shoot, and he is a willing and able shooter. When he gets the ball, I think he was given the green light very early, very often in Oklahoma. Greg, what do you foresee the UNC offense looking with a shooter like that, with that size, 6'9", Brady Manek, alongside a Bacot or Dawson Garcia with other shooters, and that pure kind of spread out four out, one in offense? How do you see that kind of looking and working with Brady Manek?
It'll be fascinating to watch just because we really haven't seen it before. But as Rel said, his ability just to slide over to the corner instead of having a second body down low. I mean, the days of seeing the high-low pretty much are gone. And what you'll have big bodies kind of running through the post. But I think in a lot of situations, once the ball goes inside, you're going to have 1 in, 4 out. And Manek will do that. And great shooter for sure. And so when you add Manek to Kerwin Walton, now you got 2 really good shooters on the court. And having 2 is so much better than 1, right? And if you can find one other guy to make some shots, now things really open up. But more than anything, I think it gives Caleb Love some opportunities, really get into the paint and distribute, especially if Caleb's there in the corner, to be able to knock some shots down. And the other thing I'd add here is rebounding wise, that's going to be something they're going to have to stress to him to make it more important for him. But he's a good shot blocker. That's a little bit surprising. And he's also very good with taking care of the ball. So again, North Carolina struggled with turnovers last year. He has a long track record of valuing the ball and not making bad mistakes. And so you're adding a guy that can shoot from outside. You're adding a guy that can block some shots, and a guy that knows how to take care of the ball. That's a lot of wins there for Hubert Davis.
Yeah, I think there's value in him being a fifth-year senior. He's played 4 years of college basketball, very high level. He's the oldest player on the team. I think the other oldest player, Bacot is kind of the most experienced at UNC. Leakey and Bacot are kind of the 2 most experienced at UNC. So the veteran presence has been there, some leadership there as well. Physicality with rebounding, something maybe he didn't do at Oklahoma as much. Be interesting to see how UNC's rebounding kind of changes without those 2 traditional bigs. Sherrell, what kind of person is he? What can you tell us about him as a guy?
Not much. I think he might be the only person to ever commit to UNC in the last 10 or 15 years that we didn't talk to. Just because he
Okay.
had a very quiet process. And we just happened to get some information the day he committed. But he doesn't talk much. He's not a guy who wants a lot of attention. That's interesting. And that's what I was saying by his leadership, I think is going to be by how he carries himself and his work ethic. I don't think he's getting in your face guy at all.
I think the fascinating thing about Manek is the fact that he went to Oklahoma. His parents played at Oklahoma Christian. His older brother played at Southeastern Oklahoma State. He grew up less than an hour from Norman. He's never left like an hour radius in his life until now, and he comes to Chapel Hill, which is a little bit different than Norman. So I find that aspect fascinating, and it'll be great to be able to learn more about him as the season goes along.
It was interesting when we got a chance to talk to him a couple of weeks ago. He was like, "Yeah, I just want to play at a high level and go farther in the tournament." And it kind of worked out well for UNC to land this guy. Sherrell obviously mentioning that he's a perfect complement to Baycott, and just like McCoy, he's that perfect fit for that stretch four, a big guy with shooting ability that can play into that system. Sherrell, go ahead.
Yeah, I would say the only thing that worries me is Hubert Davis has talked already defensively about switching screens, and he's comfortable with his big switching. And I wonder, exactly how well Manek will fare if he's playing the four, there's a pick and roll with the one, and he switches on to a lead guard. I think that situation can be kind of dangerous for North Carolina. So that's something I'm looking towards to see how his lateral movement is, to see the lateral quickness if he's able to at least stay in front of some of those guards or funnel them to Baycott, in down in the post.
Sometimes you take the good with the bad. If he can bang threes from the outside, you can
For sure
take a couple of defensive lapses. Brady Manek, definitely recognizable with the big blonde hair and the blonde beard. Arrives at UNC for his 5th year from Oklahoma, and adds a much needed shooting bonus to the UNC roster.